It's on. Well, John said he'll come in. Testing, we're ready. Good afternoon, welcome everyone. I am Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council, representative of the 6th Council District, and Chairperson of this Economic and Community Development Committee. Before I start off on the bills, we're closing the doors because there's like 2 other things that are going on, and we don't want that echo. And some of my committee members are kind of involved in some of the things there, I was just told, so they'll be back and forth. But we do have some of our members here that do have bills that are part of this hearing. So this afternoon, the committee will hear bill number 22-0279, 22-0280, 22-0281, and 22-0282. All of today's bills are urban renewal amendments, which sponsored at the request of the Department of Housing and Community Development. The hearing for bill number 22-0254, Office of Aging Independent Agency, was rescheduled to January 31st, 2023 at 2 p.m. So that has moved just so we'll have more time. That's going to be basically a whole hearing. So in attendance today, we have members of the committee. John Bullock is one of the members that's going to be coming back and forth. He represents the 9th District. Mark Conway, representing the 4th District. Ryan Dorsey, 3rd District, absent. Antonio Glover, 13th District, absent. Councilwoman Odette Ramos of the 14th District is here, and Councilman Robert Stokes of the 12th District is here. Also representing the Council President's office, we have some people online, but we do have Sophia G. representing the office of the mayor's staff. And we'll begin with bill number 22-0279. That's the Urban Renewal Coldstream Homestead Montebello Amendment for the purpose of amending the Urban Renewal Plan for Coldstream Homestead Montebello to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. This bill was introduced on September 19th, 2022. This bill was sponsored by the Council President for the administration, particularly Housing and Community Development. And we're going to move on to our committee reports, and we'll start with the city solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hillary Ruley from the Solicitor's Office. We stand by the report and approve it for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you, Hillary. And then we'll go right into the Department of Housing and Community Development. We have Stephanie Murdoch representing, and also some other members of housing. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Stephanie Murdoch, Director of Legislative Services for DHCD. Let me take this off for a moment. To my left, we have Deputy Commissioner Edwards and Managing Attorney Kirshner that have joined us today. And I also wanted to mention for those of you in attendance that received a postcard in the mail and may have questions about the bills that we're hearing today, we also have a number of staff members in the Reeves Room directly outside of the council chambers to your immediate left. And we have folks in there that can answer any property-specific questions that you may have. Since we are here today to discuss 4 urban renewal plan amendments, I just wanted to give a little bit of background that will apply to all 4 of these bills, and then we'll get into the specifics. Excuse me. So pursuant to the Maryland Real Property Code, which was enacted in 2007, we are required to renew our authority every 4 years, for our acquisition authority every 4 years. And these are in urban renewal plans that are addressing areas in the city that are vacant lots, vacant buildings. We're doing this to encourage and catalyze community-based redevelopment efforts. These are fairly routine bills. This is actually the 4th time that we've done our urban renewal amendments to extend our plans over the years. We've tried to be very careful and judicious about only seeking to reauthorize acquisition authority or extend the plan where we need to. And we are also removing properties from the list where we've already acquired the properties and they've been addressed, and folks are living in those houses now, so it's wonderful to be moving in that direction. To this first bill, 220279, this is the Coldstream Homestead Montebello Amendment, and this particular bill would reauthorize through December 31st, 2026, the acquisition authority for the properties in the URP. The plan itself has no expiration date, but with respect to the acquisition authority, we've determined that we still need to acquire certain properties identified in the URP to complete the revitalization and redevelopment projects identified in that area and well underway in that area. So we stand by our bill report in support of the passage of this amendment.
Okay, and if you just want to recognize your colleagues, you're welcome.
Yes,
You did? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, thank you. And I guess I also want to mention that the legal requirements are also, for the committee, are also outlined in the law department's report.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Any questions at this point? Moving on to the Baltimore Development Corporation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Micah Fetz for the Baltimore Development Corporation. We stand by our report, and we have no objection to the passage of this bill.
Thank you, Mike. Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcia Collins, representing the Department of Public Works. We are here and stand by our report of no objection to the passage. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Department of Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection.
Thank you. And then we'll go with the Planning Commission.
Sure, Marie McSweeney Anderson, representing the Planning Department. So at the regular meeting on October 13th, the Planning Commission considered Bill 22-0279 and reviewed a staff report which recommended approval. The Planning Commission concurred with staff and resolved to recommend approval of the bill due to the nature of the amendment to the URP as proposed and is technical in nature, and it does not substantially affect the plan, its size, or the use or disposition of any property subject to the plan.
Thank you. And we also have Tamara Woods here as well in the back. That she's not with the Planning Department anymore, but she did a strong thing there with the I just happened to look up and saw her with our zoning code. That took a long time to get through, and she helped to usher that through. The Commission on Historical and Architectural Preservation.
Yep, also me. Defer to planning.
Okay. And the Board of Municipal Zoning Appeals. Sophia, you're going to represent?
Good afternoon. The BMZA stands by their report, and they are not providing comment. Yeah.
And then just to circle back to the Baltimore Development Corporation, could you just give a brief history of the report in your write-up, could you mention some of that history, that historical?
Sure, so you just want me to read from the report that we submitted, Madam Chair? Okay, I can do that. Yep. So the urban renewal plan, get the right one here. The urban renewal plan for Coldstream Homestead Montebello was originally approved by the mayor and city council of Baltimore by ordinance 77-0289 and last amended by ordinance 18-0129. An amendment to the urban renewal plan for Coldstream Homestead Montebello is necessary to reauthorize the plan's powers of acquisition and condemnation so that these actions may legally continue in compliance with subsection 12-105.1 of the real property article of the annotated Code of Maryland. Under Article 13, subsection 2-6 of the Baltimore City Code, no change may be made in any approved renewal plan unless the change is approved in the same manner as that required for the approval of a renewal plan. Reauthorization will allow the city to advance redevelopment efforts in the neighborhood.
Thank you, Micah. Yeah, sometimes that history is important. At this point, any questions?
Yeah,
Councilwoman Ramos.
yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm would urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this. This is an important, the urban renewal plan has been important for Coldstream Homestead Montebello. It is in my district. I'm proud to represent the area. I think that the main, the redevelopment area is a subset of what's happening in the rest of the neighborhood. It's very exciting what is happening there, so we need to continue the acquisition of those properties. We just received a very generous allocation from the ARPA funding and also from Congressman Mfume to be able to begin the infrastructure. This is a project that the community has led for so long. The demolition of over 100 vacant properties to come up with a new development in the area. This is community-led. And I look forward to the next steps in the development, and I do have residents here to testify as well. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and committee members.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Moving on, before we do public testimony, just a brief statement and directions. So we expect that those attending this public hearing will keep order so that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. During public meetings, the Baltimore City Code prohibits a person acting in a disorderly manner to the disturbance of the public peace. If any attendee is disruptive, they will be given a warning. If the conduct continues, that person will be asked to leave or be ejected from the meeting. So the committee will now take public testimony. Each person testifying will have 3 minutes to speak. And we're doing the in-person testimony first. And if you signed up on the sheet and put a testify out, your names will be called first. If you missed out the check off, I'll come back to you. So, and if I've mispronounced your name wrong, please correct me, and I apologize. Rosetta Mbikop. The last name is spelled Mbiakop.
Is that for this
You come on up.
You speaking?
Or would you like to? You checked off to testify. Come on up to the mic. And you can state your name so I can make sure I get that correct.
Yeah.
You can pull that up. You can pull it up to your, perfect. State your name and who you are.
Yeah, my name is Rostan Biakop.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here because I received this letter. I
Okay.
just bought two properties. I bought two.
Speak up.
I bought-
And when you can take that off with your
Yeah,
speak.
I bought two properties on North Avenue, 1525 and 1527.
That's not. no.
Okay. That's not on this particular bill. So she's gonna look at your postcard, because I think that's with the Oliver Urban Renewal, which is coming up. And they could also help them in the room over there, too. Okay. You signed your name on the Cold Spring Homestead for testimony, so you can sit tight for that. Oh, okay. Okay, so, but here's the, okay. So, the postcard was basically sent to all of them together, so that's probably some of the confusion. So you, signed up for the Montebello, but I'll hold your name for when the Oliver amendment comes up. And we'll call you back up, so hold tight. Mark Washington, did you want to testify? Hi, how are you?
Madam Chair, I'm doing fine. I want to thank the council members who are in attendance. My name is Mark Washington. I'm the Executive Director of Coldstream Homestead Montebello Community Corporation. As the councilperson alluded to, this journey has been quite an undertaking for quite some time. And we're grateful that we're nearing the completion of this journey, and so we stand in full support of passage of Council Bill 22-0279.
Thank you.
All right.
Sandra Harrison, did you want to testify? Okay. I think that's it that I have. Okay. That was the sign-in sheet. Now we're going to go to online callers. Are any hands raised? We see no hands raised. Going once. Okay, going twice. No hands raised. Are there any callers for this bill? Yvonne Jackson, are you on? Yvonne Jackson. Move on to the next. Ivy McNeil. Ivy McNeil. Ivy McNeil, are you there? Okay, move on to the next one. Lynn Powell. Lynn Powell. Lynn Powell. Okay, Scott. Okay. Lynn Powell, you're unmuted. Did you want to speak? Move on to the next one.
Not at this time. I'm with Johnson Square.
Okay, thank you. Do committee members have any comments or questions? Okay, moving on. There are no amendments. Is there a motion to move the bill? We do have a quorum.
So moved.
So motion to move by Ramos and second by Stokes. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock, absent. Conway
Aye.
is an aye. Dorsey, absent. Glover, absent. Ramos
Yes.
is a yes. Stokes is a yes. This bill will move to second reader. And is this one that's also going to be
It's gonna be
second
double read.
and third
Double
reader?
read.
Okay. So this bill will be,
Will be double read.
okay,
All of them.
okay. So this bill will be double read, so it can move on out.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. The next bill, 22-0280. Urban Renewal Johnson Square Amendment, franchise underground snow melt system for the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Johnson Square to reauthorize the acquisition of property within the project area, to extend the life of the plan, and to remove certain properties from the list in appendices A and B, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. This bill was introduced on September 19th, 2022, also sponsored by the President for the Administration for Housing. And is Johnson Square your area? Do you want to make any comments before? Comments by Councilman Stokes before we move on?
Just real quick, I support the urban renewal because we have to have some mechanisms in place, because I ride through my district and look at some of these houses that people rehabbing. They put a half a window in and they put treated wood at the bottom. We can't do that. That's not that's not what the community, the rest of the people that pay a whole lot of money for them houses, $300,000 and $400,000, and somebody come and rehab, put in a short window and put treated wood at the bottom. And working with our planners, I will get them addresses, because you're gonna do right with the community. You're gonna make sure you put a complete window in them houses in Johnson Square and in Oliver. Thank you.
Thank you. And just, we do public testimony after we hear from the agencies. I know you want to say something, but hold off. Okay, the city solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hillary Ruley on behalf of the Law Department. We stand by our report and approve the bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you, Hillary. Housing, Stephanie Murdoch.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair. Stephanie Murdoch, Director of Legislative Services for DHCD. And again, I'm joined to my left by Managing Attorney Kirschner and Deputy Commissioner Edwards. Much like the last bill, this bill would reauthorize the acquisition authority for the properties identified in the Johnston Square URP and extend the life of the URP through December 31st, 2026. It would also remove from the URP those properties already sold for redevelopment in furtherance of the URP's objectives. So we stand by our bill report in support.
Thank you. Baltimore Development Corporation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Baltimore Development Corporation stands by its report, and we have no objection to the passage of this bill.
Any history on that one?
Yes, ma'am, of course. Yes. The urban rural plan for Johnson Square was originally approved by the mayor and city council of Baltimore Ordinance 77-0357 and last amended by Ordinance 14-0295. An amendment to the urban rural plan for Johnson Square is necessary to reauthorize the plan's powers of acquisition and condemnation so that these actions may legally continue in compliance with 12-105 of the Real Property Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, to extend the life of the plan and remove certain properties from the lists. Approval of this bill will allow the city to continue its redevelopment efforts in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcia Collins reporting for the Department of Public Works. We stand by our report. We would like to point out that there was a technical error made in that stating that the last amended ordinance was 14-295, but in point of fact, it was ordinance 18-188. Other than this suggested technical correction, we have no objection to the passage of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Bullock, member of the committee, has joined us. Thank you, Madam Chair. He was over in the other event that was going on. Planning Commission. Maria.
Oh, sorry, that's Imani Jasper.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So the planning.
Identify who you are.
Oh, sorry. My name is Imani Jasper with the Planning Department. The Planning Commission reviewed this bill at their meeting on October 13th. Again, this is Bill 22-0280, Urban Renewal Plan for Johnston Square. In the staff report, we recommended that they make and adopt the finding that the amendment as proposed is technical in nature and does not substantially affect the plan, its size, or the use or disposition of any property subject to the plan. Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the bill.
Thank you. And are you also doing the historical preservation?
No, that's
piece?
me. Marie McSweeney Anderson, on behalf of CHAP, we defer to planning.
Okay. And the Board of Municipal and Zoning, Sophia?
Thank you, Madam Chair. BMZA stand by its support, and they defer to Planning Commission.
And we do have Nina Themulus online. Does the committee have any comments or questions before we take public testimony? Okay, we're going to start with the in-person testimony. Each person testifying will have up to 3 minutes to speak. So on the list, on this list I have Mark, but I guess he was with the last one.
Yeah.
So, sir, did you sign in? Did you want to testify on this bill? No, I'm with Homestead Monticello. Oh, okay. But did you?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, can I see when you finish?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to check online, so there's no in-person sign-up for this bill. Jenny Guglielme, are you testifying on this bill? Jenny?
Jenny Guillaume, can you hear me?
Yes, are you testifying on this bill?
Yes, I would like to.
Go ahead, you're on.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm with Rebuild Metro, which is a partner in the Johnson Square Partners that include Rebuild Johnson Square Neighborhood Organization, St. Francis Academy, Build, Baltimore Arts Realty Corporation, and Rebuild Metro. And we fully support this renewal. It's an important tool for acquisition authority for the Johnson Square neighborhood and the redevelopment. We have a land disposition agreement with Baltimore City, and we have developed a master plan with residents, community stakeholders of the neighborhood, and the URP is an important acquisition tool in order to make sure that we are able to acquire property and redevelopment in accordance with our master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to the next caller. No more hands. Okay, no more hands raised, so now we're doing callers. Yvonne Jackson, are you here to testify on Johnson Square? Yvonne Jackson. Move to the next. Ivy McNeil. Ivy. Is this Ivy?
Good afternoon. Yes.
Oh, is this Yvonne Jackson first? Are you here to testify on Johnson Square? Okay,
Yep, hello.
Hello, is this Yvonne?
Yes, this is Yvonne Jackson.
Did you want to testify on Johnson Square?
No, because I was listening and Jenny discussed what we would have agreed upon there in reference to the Johnson Square.
Okay, thank you. So Ivy McNeil.
Hello, this is Ivy McNeil. Can you hear me?
Yes, are you here for Johnson Square?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to testify?
Yes, I would just like to make a statement. I'm a community member. I've lived in the Johnson Square community for 23 years, and I support the bill.
Thank you so much. Lillian? First name Lillian, are you there? Lillian, are you testifying on Johnson Square?
Yes.
You're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, this is Lillian Trotman, one of the core members of Rebuild Johnson Square. Just wanted to say that I support Johnson Square's effort in this. We've been doing a mighty work in the community, and we would like to see it continue.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Lynn Powell. Lynn Powell, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and yes, I do want to testify. I'm with Rebuild Johnson Square. I'm vice president, and of course, we support.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
And that's it for Johnson Square. Any comments or questions for the committee? Hearing none.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Conway.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. I know Ms. Collins noted earlier that the dates were wrong in the bill. I just want to know whether or not we want to get that amended for second reader.
Did you want to comment, please? Marcia Collins, please.
Yes, thank you. Marcia Collins, DPW. As we noted in our report, there was an error on line 17 of the first page of the bill stating that the ordinance 14295 was the last time it was amended, but in fact it was ordinance 18-188, and that's in the third paragraph of our report.
So do we need a form?
You could put in an amendment in committee, but I think it would also qualify as like a technical change that legislative reference could do without a formal amendment, but it's up to you. If you feel better putting in the amendment, that's fine as well.
I'm indifferent.
Okay. Okay. So we'll make a motion to reflect what Marcia has
So
mentioned.
I will make that. I'll make that motion to accept that amendment as drafted by Ms. Collins.
Well, we could, but it's just technical, so we don't have to go through that with a technical, something that.
we all agree on, so it's.
And it's been approved by the law department. Any further questions?
Yeah, I wanted to make the motion to accept the proposed amendment.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this amendment is approved. Thank you for correcting that piece there. And because, remember, we're on time constraint with these urban renewal plans, and they're going to go through second and third reader on Thursday. Is there a motion to move the bill?
So move.
Second.
So moved by Conway, second by Stokes. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock?
Yes.
Yes. Conway?
Aye.
Is a aye. Dorsey absent. Glover absent. Ramos?
Yes.
Is a yes. And Stokes? Yes. Is a yes. And I do want to recognize from the President's office, Aaron DeGraff-Reed and Nikki Thompson that are online. Next bill, 22-0281, and this is the urban renewal for Middle East amendment for the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Middle East to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the list and appendices A, C, and D, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. This This bill was also introduced on September 19th, 2022, sponsored by the President's Office for the Administration for Housing. And is this Middle East? Who? Okay, they're not here. Okay, we'll move on to the agency report. City Solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hillary Ruley, on behalf of the Law Department. We stand by our report in approving the bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. Housing, Stephanie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephanie Murdoch, representing DHCD. This legislation would extend the life of the URP and also remove those properties that are already sold for redevelopment in furtherance of the plan's objectives. We've determined that the city no longer needs the authority to acquire properties listed in the URP, but still does require the authority to dispose of properties within the plan's boundaries. So we are seeking to extend the URP through December 31st, 2026. We stand by our bill report in support of this legislation.
Baltimore Development Corporation, Micah, and you might want to give a little history.
Yes, ma'am. Micah Fetz, representing the Baltimore Development Corporation. We stand by our report, and we have no objection to passage of this bill. Brief history is in our report states that the urban renewal plan for Middle East was originally approved by the mayor and city council by Baltimore Ordinance 79-1202 and last amended by Ordinance 21-029. An amendment to the urban renewal plan for Middle East is necessary to extend the authorities granted to the city under the plan and to remove certain properties from the list of properties for acquisition and disposition. Under Article 13, subsection 2-6 of the Baltimore City Code, no change may be made in any approved renewal plan unless the change is approved in the same manner as that required for the approval of a renewal plan, which is why an ordinance is required to make these changes. Approval of this ordinance will allow the city to continue its redevelopment and rehabilitation efforts in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The Department of Public Works, Marcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcia Collins, representing the Department of Public Works. We stand by our report, and we have no objection to the passage of Bill 22-0281. Thank you.
Thank you. Liam Davis, Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Planning Commission.
Hello, Imani Jasper again with the Department of Planning. The Planning Commission heard the staff report and reviewed Bill 22-0281, Urban Renewal Plan for Middle East, on October 13th, 2022. They made and adopt the finding that the amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan as proposed is technical in nature and does not substantially affect the plan, its size, or the use or disposition of any property subject to the plan. They voted to recommend approval of the bill.
Thank you. And the Historical and Architectural Preservation.
Rory McSweeney Anderson, defer to planning.
Thank you. And Zoning Appeals.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is Sophia from Mayor's Office of Government Relations, and BMZA stands by its report and defers to Planning Commission.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? If not, we'll move on to public testimony. And there are no in-person sign-ins, and we're checking for hands raised. And I see no hands raised, so we're checking for callers now. And there are none for this bill. Any comments or questions from committee? Hearing none, there are also no amendments on this one. Is there a motion to move this bill? So moved.
Second.
So moved by Stokes, second by Conway. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock?
Yes.
Yes. Conway?
Aye.
Aye. Dorsey, absent. Glover, absent. Ramos? Stokes?
Yes.
Is a yes. This bill will now move to second and third reader. It will be double read at the next council meeting, which is Thursday. And then lastly, Bill number 22-0282, the Urban Renewal for Oliver Amendment for the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for Oliver to reauthorize the acquisition of properties within the project area, to extend the life of the plan, and to remove certain properties from the list in Appendix B and C, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, providing for the application of this ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. This bill was also introduced on September 19, 2022, and sponsored by the President for the Administration for Housing and Community Development. And sponsor, this is your area,
Yes.
Oliver. Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to talk how important the amendment is. And if we lift this amendment, a lot of things that's happening in Oliver now that I just mentioned, putting in short windows with a treated wood that can catch on fire. If we remove this, they're going to be doing a whole lot more of this, and it's happening now. So it's important that we keep this amendment for the Oliver community, and expect my colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. The City Solicitor's Office?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's Hillary Ruley on behalf of the Law Department, and we stand by the report and approve it for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you, Hillary. And Stephanie Murdoch with Housing?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Stephanie Murdoch, representing the Department of Housing and Community Development. As originally drafted, this bill would reauthorize the acquisition authority and extend the life of the plan and remove certain properties already sold for redevelopment. As you'll see on your desks, there are 2 amendments that are going to be offered to the committee. And upon further discussion with our partner agencies and internally, we decided to introduce an amendment to remove the acquisition authority. So that's the first amendment that you will see. So if this amendment is approved, it would simply extend the life of the plan. The second amendment is a technical amendment where we had an address incorrect. So you'll see that we are removing a 1 that shouldn't have been there, or adding a 1 that should have been there. So those are the 2 amendments before you, and again, we stand by our bill report in support of this legislation.
Thank you. You want the First Amendment to be explained again?
We have some residents here from Oliver, and I think they explaining what the amendment is need to be explained more in detail so they understand it. So
And you can remove your mask when you're speaking and put it back on,
so can you explain Amendment 1 and then explain Amendment 2?
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Kirshner, Managing Attorney for the Department of Housing and Community Development Division. So what the amendment would do, a lot of people did get postcards because originally, as drafted, the idea was to extend the acquisition authority. But if you have if you got a postcard for this particular bill, Housing is requesting an amendment that will remove that request for acquisition authority. So we would allow the acquisition authority to expire at the end of this year. If you got a postcard because your property is on the list of properties to be acquired, if this bill is passed with the amendment we suggest, then that authority to acquire that property will no longer exist. And so the reason that a postcard was sent was because originally the bill had that authority included, but
Could you talk in the mic, please?
I'm sorry.
And face the committee. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, and so the idea was originally to include acquisition authority, to reauthorize the acquisition authority. We've carefully reviewed the list of properties and determined that we no longer really need that acquisition authority. And so the amendment that we are suggesting would allow the acquisition authority to expire at the end of this year, but keep the plan itself alive so that we can continue to dispose of properties that we have already acquired pursuant to the plan.
So could you just explain a little bit in detail what you're actually removing
Sure.
from the bill, and does, how this is going to affect those residents? Just if you could make that a little clearer.
I will try. So originally, the reason that we revisit the urban renewal plans every 4 years is because we are required to either ask for new authority to acquire the properties so that that authority continues to exist, or we can let it expire. So we're required every 4 years to renew the authority to acquire properties on the list. In addition, when a plan would expire without action, the plan itself, not just the acquisition authority, but the plan itself, we have been asking to extend the plans themselves. So basically, it's a two-part request originally. We determined upon careful review of the properties listed that we don't intend to acquire any of the properties that are listed, remain on the list, and therefore we asked for an amendment so that we are no longer seeking the authority to acquire the properties that are listed in the Oliver Urban Renewal Plan. Now we're only seeking the plan to be extended so that we can dispose of the properties we already own.
So do you have the specific addresses of those properties?
There are specific addresses listed.
Is it a long list?
Let me see.
I'd like you to read those addresses out loud to, so it can be as part of the public testimony.
Oh, it is listed in the... No, those are the properties we're removing from the list. Right, so but that's different from what we're doing now. So the amendment would apply to all the properties on the list, yes. So I do have a list of all the properties listed in Oliver.
And I'm saying that because there are some residents, I think, that are affected that,
Right. So if you don't mind, I think I left that list, the list of properties still in Oliver's, in the room for the folks.
We'll move on and we can come back.
Yeah, I will go get that.
And just for those that have joined later into the hearing,
Excuse me. Thank you.
Just for those that have joined us, we do have staff right outside the council chambers in the Reeves room to your immediate left that can answer any specific property address issues or concerns that you may have.
Okay, so those that have specific questions about your individual property, you know where you can go to get that deeper clarification. But if you're here to testify, eventually we'll get to that as well. Yes.
I'll just add a little bit. Well, he's going to get that list. Just to make it totally clear, so I'm Kate Edwards, Deputy Commissioner for the Development Division. So if you received a postcard for Oliver, there won't be any authority. Well, I feel like that's saying it in a way that's a little too, I don't know. But the city will not be able to acquire the property anymore. We won't have that acquisition authority, so you don't have to worry about the threat of the city acquiring your property.
And I think that's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
You said the magic word. Okay.
Thank you, Kate.
Moving on to the Baltimore Development Corporation. And you want to add that history?
Yes, Madam Chair. Micah Fetz for the Baltimore Development Corporation. Thank you, Madam Chair. Brief history as listed in our report to the committee. The Urban Renewal Plan for Oliver was originally approved by the Mayor and City Council of Baltimore by Ordinance 71-1067 and last amended by Ordinance 18-196. An amendment to the urban renewal plan for Oliver is necessary to reauthorize the plan's powers of acquisition and condemnation so that these actions may legally continue. In compliance with subsection 12-105.1 of the Real Property Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, to extend the life of the plan and to remove certain properties from the lists in appendices B and C. Under Article 13, subsection 2-6 of the Baltimore City Code, no change may be made in any approved renewal plan unless the change is approved in the same manner as that required for the approval of a renewal plan. Approval of this bill will allow for the city to continue its redevelopment efforts in the neighborhood. The BDC stands by its report, and we have no objection to the passage of this bill.
Thank you. Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcia Collins, Department of Public Works. We stand by our report. We have no objection to the passage, and we recognize the amendments being proposed by DHCD and honor those requests. Thank you.
Thank you. Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report. No objection. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Planning Commission.
This is Amani Jasper again with the Department of Planning. This bill was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting on October 13th. Staff recommended that they find that the amendment is technical in nature and does not substantially affect the plan, its size, or the use or disposition of any property subject to the plan. The Planning Commission took no vote on this item at that meeting.
Okay. And the Historical Preservation.
Murray McSweeney Anderson, defer to planning.
And Zoning Appeals.
Madam Chair, thank you. BMZA defers to Planning Commission for this.
Okay. Now, public testimony. Let's look at the in-person. Deanna Williams. Diane Williams. I'm gonna who? Audrey Carter, you want to come up?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Audrey Carter. I'm from the People's Association. Can you hear me? The People's Association of Oliver Community. I am a long-term advocate of Oliver, as well as I've lived, worked, attended school, and worshiped in the Oliver community for over 40 years. I thank you for, well, at this point of, the objection is to reauthorize the acquisition, so I thank you for hopefully removing that. Also, there's some concerns regarding a portion of the urban renewal plan, which has an EBDI exhibits attached to it. So I'm not exactly sure if that is a part of what we are renewing, but we are in opposition to that portion as well. So we would like to have that either removed or at some point tabled so that we can further review it and discuss it with EBDI or whoever added that piece to the Oliver Urban Renewal Plan. We're also, for the purposes of removing that EBDI exhibit piece so that we can protect our historical institutions such as our Oliver Community Center, our Oliver Recreation Center, and also the Dawson Center. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to mention again, too, that make sure you see, this is to everyone, make sure you see how the Housing and Community Development Department in the Reeves Room if you need any more detailed information. They're there, so you can grab them today to get all your complete details. Thanks for your testimony.
Are you allowed to ask questions?
No, you're
Okay.
not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Pam Moore. After we finish. She left. And,
She might be out there.
Pam? I see you're online now, your hand's raised. Can you hear me? Pam Moore?
My name is Pam Moore. I'm from the Baltimore Oliver Community Association, and we are in favor of the amendment.
Thank you. I see no more hands raised. There was one more in person, but I see he stepped away. Rusted. Okay, that's it. Is there anybody else that didn't sign up that wants to testify before we go to the callers? Anyone present in person? Seeing none, let's move, see if there's any more callers. Okay. No more hand raises. Pam already spoke as the caller. Okay. Before we take a vote, we're going to go back to the amendment, and we want to get those properties named in for the record. And then I think Councilman Stokes, you had another comment after that? Okay.
Okay, again, Joe Kirshner from DHCD. Bear with me because there are maybe a few hundred properties listed.
No, we don't. We don't want all that. No.
Okay, I mean,
you make sure that you give the committee a copy,
perfect,
and that would help. Okay.
absolutely.
And it's available online as well, so.
And for the public, it is available online for the Department of Housing and Community Development. And I think before we move on, I know that you wanted to testify. Did you, before we start our voting? You have a chance.
Yeah,
State your name again. Go ahead.
My name is Rostand Biakop. I'm here for, because I received this postcard and the address is 1525. So I own two houses on East North Avenue, 1525 and 1527. So the reason that I bought those houses is because, they looks, great. So I just wanted to make our community, great, better. So that's why I bought that, and I hope that I'm gonna move on one of those houses. So, but when I received this, I start to worry about, those houses. And then, so that's why I came here to have more insight, about what's gonna happen to, my houses. So, but I testify, if the bill can go on, because there are so many, I'm the only one, in the block that's working on, that are fixing, the houses, but all the rest, are either abandoned or vacant. So, so if the bill can move on, that would be great,
So are you feeling more comfortable now? Did you talk to the people outside?
Yes, yes. So they say that, the city won't take my house, so that's why, I'm a little bit
Okay,
relaxed
so you're
right now.
satisfied?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
I'm satisfied.
Support this effort?
Yes.
That's important.
Yeah.
Councilman Stokes has a question for you, since
Is
it is his area.
Is your property between Broadway and Caroline Street?
It's between
Off of
Hartford
North Avenue
between Hartford Road
up
and
to Bond Street?
Hartford Road and Broadway.
So, I know, but that's between Caroline.
Yes.
So, I know you want to be removed, but I hope, because I think that's some of the problems I was talking about with the short windows. Have you done some work there and you got some short windows and you put something to cover up the treated wood? in your windows.
treated wood.
Are you, are you in a block where, I'm trying to think. I know the 1500 block. So you in the block where the rest of the houses are vacant. Am I right? So I did ride past there and see short windows. So it's only fair, even though you're gonna remove your address from this, but it's only fair because that block of North Avenue can look very well once the rest of them are rehab. But when you got one that has a short window and then somebody else come in and buy it and they got a complete window in there, what you did is gonna mess up the uniformity of that particular block. So even though you're gonna be out removing your address, I will only think that you would put full windows in there.
Okay, so.
Because that's only fair to the community that everything look the same.
Okay, so I want to say something.
You can talk to Councilman Stokes privately, and he can give you some insight on how to make that happen, along with housing, so that piece. Kate, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to make it clear that the properties that are being removed, the properties that will no longer have the acquisition authority for, that doesn't mean that all the properties within the plan boundaries don't have to meet the design requirements of the plan. So anybody that's in the plan has to meet those design requirements. The list only has to do with us acquiring the properties.
Okay. Thank you, and you understand that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your testimony. And I think that covers it with all of the testimony. Okay, we do have two amendments that we went over, and Housing's going to give the committee, I guess, that detailed list. So for the committee, is there, the law department, I can vote on those together. Okay. Is there a motion to move the two amendments?
So moved.
So moved by Stokes, second. Conway. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? This amendment is approved. These amendments are approved. And the bill, motion to move the bill as amended.
So moved.
So moved by Stokes, second by Ramos. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock? Yes. Conway? Yes. Dorsey, absent. Glover, absent. Ramos?
Yes.
Yes. Stokes?
Yes.
Yes. This bill will also move to second and third reader, double read at Thursday's council meeting, and I want to thank everyone for attending today's hearing, and these hearings are adjourned. Thank you.